Hello everyone. So the next video, the Cold War, the last phase of your Cold War, which we will be seeing about your arms race, the Cuban Missile Crisis, you can say the disintegration of USSR, Gorbachev policies and all. Okay. So this chapter is the end of Cold War and your USSR disintegration. Okay. Now the topics you can see arms race, very important. You can say how the arms race got developed between US and USSR, the stockpiles of weapons, be it in terms of nuclear, be it in terms of hydrogen bombs, the you can say intercontinental ballistic missile, SLBMs, okay, whatnot. Arms race was actually one important event in your Cold War. Okay, doctrines. These three doctrines, you can say doctrine of brinkmanship, the mutually assured destruction, and your nuclear deterrence. Okay, the Secretary General, you can say, dwells his concept. This concept, you can say, okay, how communism, it has to be stopped. The policy of containment of communism at all is not sufficient. We have to ensure that the states which are being, you can say, they are being under the control of communist states and all, or the tyranny of communism, we have to protect those states. So these doctrines are must. That's how we went on. Okay, we'll be seeing these doctrines and all. Okay, nuclear disarmament agreements, that is between USA and USSR, USA and USSR, the nuclear agreements. Okay, these are must. Be it nuclear non-proliferation treaty, CTBT, Australian agreement, Wasina, a lot of nuclear agreements and all. Okay. Next, coming to the Cuba. Cuban, because Cuba is also Cuban Missile Crisis. The most you can say. The Cold War reached to the stage of a hot war. It was in Cuba. Okay, so we got to see what was Bay of Pigs invasion, that is US attacking the Bay of Pigs island. Next, Cuban Missile Crisis, the reforms before it. The crisis before it. Prior to that, we have to see the Cuban Revolution. What happened in Cuba? Okay, why was Cuba important for US? Okay, then end of Cold War. The reasons for Cold War getting ended. Okay, Berlin Wall, the Berlin Wall destruction, and finally Gorbachev policies and effects of end of Cold War. What happened after the Cold War? Okay, one factor we already know, that the world became you can say a unipolar. Now you have US becoming an hegemon. US became an hegemon. Okay, so these factors which you have to see. Now, the stages of the Cold War, has seen 1945 till 50. What and all policies we have seen, you can say Korea, beat the Korean War, or you can say the brink of wars and all between USSR and USA. Okay, so the tensions build up. Okay, between these two countries. It is almost the brink of the war till 63. That is Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, then you have the detente. That is relaxation of tensions between the two. Okay, final phase, you can say the Berlin Wall destruction. Okay, the end of the war from 86 policies, from 86 till, and finally you have in 1991 USSR disintegration. The first one, arms race. Okay, it major reason is because of the you can say the kind of mistrust between the two superpowers and the tensions that got developed between the two superpowers. So major reason, you can say, the kind of mistrust and tension. Okay, and when you have USA attacking on Japan during the World War II with Hiroshima, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki with the atom bomb. Okay, you can say that USSR was left out. So later, even USSR went on to develop the atom bomb in 1949. So you developed. Okay, I went for it. Okay, so you have now the you can say the concept of atom bombs being started and all. Truman responded by going ahead for the next hydrogen bomb. Okay, he later said that let us go for hydrogen bomb. So this is arms race. You increase it, even I will also increase my so-called weapon stockpile and all. Now, hydrogen bomb was capable of destroying what was the hydrogen bomb, which was you can say developed by US. Based on the Truman's doctrine, went on to destroy. You can say it is capable of destroying even Moscow, Russia. Okay. By 1953, you have USSR developing the hydrogen bomb. Okay. So this was like a competition. You increase, even I go for increase and all. Okay. But by you can say by 50s, during the entire 1950s and all, you can say America was ahead. Be it in terms of bombers or nuclear bombs and all. Okay. So this is from 1949 till 1960, how the Cold War got escalated. Okay. Be it in terms of arms race, space, even in space also there was a complete race that is called Star Wars, the Star Wars program and all. You can say the espionage, the spying network and all. Okay. This is the you can say the small and the entire Cold War events and all. Cuban Missile Crisis is one event, significant event. Okay, all these Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, they were controlled. They were under the influence of US earlier. Okay, you can see this is the East Germany 1940. You can see how it got divided, where Cold War almost turned hot here. Okay, all these are communist countries. All these are entirely communist. Entirely communist. Afghanistan, 1979 to 89, it interfered. USSR interfered, but it left out. It was a communist government here. Okay. Next, Angola was again 75. If you remember, Ethiopia, we have seen, we have discussed Ethiopia. First Vietnam War, we have seen one more session. I mean, the second Vietnam, which is important, where US, you have almost five presidents of USA being dragged out into Myanmar. That we'll be seeing at all, where it became finally a communist country. All the Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, that is Indochina. Okay. Next, Korean War, we have discussed 50 to 53. It's done. Okay. So these all, I mean, you can say Chile. Chile was again under the US influence and all. It is anti-communist. All this is all again capitalistic and democracy. Capitalistic and democracy. Most of the African part, you can say, they were neutral. They were neutral. Okay, this is how the world. I mean, after World War II, it's been divided into ideologies. Okay, you can see here the anti-communist green colored, the blue one, it's your communistic. Okay, the star marks where you have regional wars. The Cuba, I mean, you can say regional wars and all. Okay. Next. Later, by 1957, Russians, when they went for producing the ICBM, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, ICBMs, Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles, I mean, which is actually capable of carrying a hydrogen bomb from Soviet Union to USA. They went ahead and all. US develops its counterpart, the counterpart of ICBM, Atlas. Okay, very important. Atlas missiles and all. Okay, in 58, US placed IRBMs, the intermediate range ballistic missiles and all. Okay, I mean, major target is to target, I mean, the Soviet Union. For example, a lot of missiles were placed in Cuba. I mean, you can say Turkey, in the Eastern European countries, which are easy target, to hit out. You can say Russia, Soviet Union. Okay. You can see the bombers, the SLBMs, okay, submarine launched ballistic missiles. You can say Cold War triad, the Cold War triad. Okay, this is called the Cold War triad. Okay, this is the present. New triad and all. Okay. If you see Cold War, it's not just new. Even for example, when we take on the aspects of World War One, where we have used about the gas chamber, you can say poisonous gases and also. Arms race was as old as, you can say, it was very old rivalry between the international powers. Okay, and that was even present during colonialism. Okay, it took a new crucial turn in these two world wars. The first World War witnessed, you can say, poisonous gas, as I said, machine guns, tanks on a very high level. On a very, very high level, you can see the First World War, they were witnessing it all. Okay, while used, you could say German howitzers, the guns and all. Okay, in the Battle of Lies, very famous Battle of Lies was against Belgium. Battle of Lies against Belgium. Okay, we discussed all these in the earlier sessions. Okay. World War II, if you could remember, I mean, Blitzkrieg, Poland. I mean, immediately, the major reason against attack on Poland is Blitzkrieg phenomenon. So, sudden onslaught of the enemy. That was the major reason. You can say it was unable to come back. Even France also could not come back. The troops movement and all, it was very difficult. Okay, mechanized division of troops, which we discussed. Okay, and apart from that, you can say Russia and both Germany, Russia as well as Germany, both were very good in their airstrikes, continuous airstrikes and all. For example, when in case of Germany, it was Luftwaffe. Okay, which we have discussed, Luftwaffe. Okay, finally, atomic bomb usage. You can say you can say. It was the starting of, you can say, the arms race and all. Okay, but during the Cold War, arms race reached horrifying proportions and all. It kept on increasing when it was unstoppable. It was unstoppable with respect to the development of weapons. Okay, majorly the Korean War, it intensified the Cold War. Now you can see the doctrine of Dulles, the secretary. He was the US Secretary of State. Okay. He dominated the entire US foreign policy from 53 to 59. Okay, he believed that containment policy of communism was not just sufficient. We have to go for a more aggressive policy. That is, we have to liberate people from communist rule or communist tyranny, where and all you have communistic regimes and all. We should try to liberate them rather than simply stopping out communism of its spread. Okay. The ability to get to the verge without getting into the war is necessary art. If you are scared to go to the brink, you are lost. You have to be ready. You have to go for ready. That was his foreign policy. And some doctrines, some dangerous doctrines, you can say, like massive retaliation. If someone attacks, okay, go for retaliation very strongly. That's called, that was his first doctrine of the secretary. Okay, and how would the retaliation be? It would be the use of nuclear weapons. Today, you don't have, countries attacking other countries which are nuclear, because the thinking of retaliation, in what way the retaliation would be, okay, if that had been via nuclear, that would be more disaster. It would be a more disaster. And also, nuclear is acting like a deterrence, you can say. Nuclear is a deterrence. Okay, that was nuclear deterrence. Possess nuclear weapons so that the countries won't attack you. That was the deterrent factor. Okay, doctrine of brinkmanship and doctrine of MAD, that is your mutually assured destruction. Mutually assured destruction. Okay, MAD. Okay, four important doctrines of adults. Now, brinkmanship, you push your enemy to the utmost level. Either you provoke, either by propaganda, either by direct confrontation and all. Okay, and this would increase the tensions between these two. Okay, that's called policy of brinkmanship. Provocation. That's what US did. You can say that's what even USSR tried to do. The Cuban Missile Crisis was actually provoking. Okay, putting missiles in Turkey, that was also provoking. Okay, a wrong propaganda, you can say communistic propaganda or capitalistic propaganda. Okay, that was also one, you can say. Pushing your advisor to the most. Automatically there is no escalation. There is complete escalation rather than relaxation of tensions and all. Okay, now mutually assured destruction. This implied in case of any nuclear war, neither side will survive, or as even aggressor, will not be spared out. As even aggressor will not spare. Both the sides. Two countries which are both nuclear, if they go for war, destruction is obvious for both of them. Okay, and when the Soviet Union caught up with the USA, both sides knew that they could destroy all other nuclear weapons. This was obvious. This was very clear for both the countries. As a result, it acted like a deterrence. Neither side could attack first. If Russia would attack USA first, USA would have retaliated in the same action, the same proportion and all. This resulted in, from, you can say, 62 to 67, 1962 to 67, after Cuban Missile Crisis, that both did not go for attack. Okay, in fact, Cuban Missile Crisis of those 10 days and all, it was horrifying. Almost all the countries thought that it was third World War was almost near. Okay. Next one, a cartoon explaining your mutually assured destructions. You can see here. Okay, you press it. The pulley system. You guys you will be hacked. The bulletin. Okay, same way. Okay, attacking mutually assured destruction. Okay. Next, the testing of larger weapons made this issue. This was discussed. Okay, you can say partial test ban treaty resulted after Cuban Missile Crisis, and fear of MAD. Fearing of mutually assured destruction and all, that actually started with PTBT. Okay, partial test ban treaty. Okay, later you have comprehensive test ban treaty, which is still not, you can say, not into effective role and all. Okay, and the major this actually became the major. Nixon was, in the 1970s. He was the president. Richard Nixon. Okay, very famous for his Watergate scandal. Nixon Watergate scandal. Okay, that's how you have this Colgate and all that is from your Gates scam. Okay, Nixon's man. He followed detente policy. You can say one president who actually was responsible for the detente, okay, policy was Richard Nixon. Okay. Next, in simple words, it's a doctrine of military strategy, mutually assured destruction. And a security policy in which full use of high-wheeled weapons, which are of mass destruction, and that would result in both annihilation of attacker as well as defender. So neither would win. Both will be completely be major loss. That is your mutually assured destructions. So the bar has no victory, and nor any armistice, nor any truce, nor any victory. So, but only effective reciprocal destruction. Destruction is obvious. This is your mutually assured destruction. You attack me, I'm going to definitely attack you, and both are going to be under complete disaster. Next, you can see the stockpile of nuclear weapons. You can say by both the superpowers. It was any direct confrontation and all, as I said, the mutual assured destruction and all. So it prevented the having of nuclear weapons and all, you can say, acted as a deterrence. and that prevented a third world war, you can say. And because of that, many countries now they started acquiring. They want to acquire this deterrent capability. They started acquiring, wanted to have this deterrent capability. They started going for nuclear weapons. They started going for nuclear weapons. Okay, and Eisenhower doctrine. Okay, his doctrine of you can say. He wanted to increase, he wanted to go for an extensive arms race and all, be it in terms of Domingo, be it in terms of his policy in Vietnam and all. He has pushed on US to the extreme extent. So during the entire arms race, you have the nuclear bomb, the hydrogen bombs, ICBMs, SLBMs, these are submarine launched ballistic missiles, okay, the cruise missiles, the Trident missiles, okay, the development of MIRV. This proved to be very, very useful actually. That is multiple independent, or you can say targetable re-entry vehicles. This proved to be a very important you can say important aspect of the technological weapons, or you can say arms race, especially in your arms race and all. Okay, SS-20s. This made the arms race reach to the next level. Okay. Next. This is in terms of space, the space race, you can say. Okay, apart from arms race, you also have space race. Russia launched its first Earth satellite, Sputnik 1, 58. Okay, even you can say 60s, 1960s, US developed short-range nuclear missiles, Jupiter and Thor. This was a major irritant, and you can say tensions got escalated to high level between US and USSR, and they placed them in Turkey. This was actually the major reason for your Cuban crisis, Cuban missile crisis. I mean, from Turkey to USA, the distance is low, and these missiles, the short range nuclear missiles and all, Jupiter and Thor, they could easily attack USSR. Okay, so Nikita Khrushchev also, he then went for we can say implanting nuclear weapons in Cuba. So he wants to know, he wants to make USA feel that how it would be when you have nuclear weapons even in your backyard. Okay, that was the major reason. When Jupiter and Thor missiles were kept in Turkey, okay, the same thing he wants to give it counter back to USA. That was the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, so 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, where Russians placed nuclear missiles in US backyard in Cuba. So the race increased, in arms race increased in 1970s. Okay, Jupiter and Thor, Redstone, all these are missiles. These are short range. These are short range nuclear missiles. The short range nuclear missiles, short range nuclear missiles. Okay. Then you can see when it was not possible. The fight for nuclear weapons and continuously increased. So protests started. Now you have the protest against nuclear weapons and all. People got to know about the kind of radioactive, how dangerous they were, how the entire world comes to an end. So a lot of camps for disarmament, many camps for disarmament and all. Okay, earlier there were calls for unilateral disarmament. Now you have all the countries coming up, all the countries going for multilateral disarmaments and all. Okay, so there was protest demonstrations in many European countries, Germany, Holland, US, Britain, everywhere. Okay, and they played a very important role bringing the countries onto the negotiating table. Okay, later you can say US, Russia, and Britain, they signed the nuclear test ban treaty, you can say, from 1967. Okay, nuclear test ban treaty. Okay, only underground nuclear test would be conducted, and no test would be conducted underwater or air or in outer space. Okay, that's how it went on. Okay, US agreed to remove the missiles short range, which are planted in Turkey after the Cuban crisis. This was actually a secret agreement. This was done in a secret hotline so that both sides wanted to keep their prestige on. Okay, 67, the banning of entire, you can say, nuclear weapons in outer space also. Okay, 67. Okay. In fact, NPT, when you have nuclear non-proliferation treaty, which where India is not a member actually, which says that actually you should not, the nuclear weapons technological country, nuclear weapons possessing country, they should not transfer nuclear knowledge to non-nuclear countries. Okay, and any non-nuclear country also should not try to acquire nuclear technology from nuclear weapon states. Since this would so countries which were nuclear at that time, they have the right that may actually made the entire world. Some countries having nuclear, some countries not having. Based on that context only, India was actually not a member. India was not a member of signing NPT. Okay, because China was already nuclear at that time. China, an enemy, our neighbor. It was already enemy. I mean, it was already a nuclear country. Okay, India went for. I mean, you can say 1998. Later in Indira Gandhi's period, you can say 1973. Okay, the Smiling Buddha, Operation Smiling Buddha, and all. We went for the tests in 73. Then 1998, India became nuclear. Okay, so possessing of nuclear as a deterrence, India knew the kind of disadvantage. I mean, advantage. That is the reason why we are not a member of NPT. Since India did not sign, you don't have Pakistan also not signing nuclear non-proliferation treaty and all. Okay, North Korea has nuclear weapons. Okay, North Korea is also not a member. Okay, South Sudan, I can say. It's Iran also. In 1970, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty came into effect, signed in 67, 68. It allowed only the existing nuclear weapon states to have weapons, and non-nuclear weapon states, they should not try to also. They should not also try to agree. The signatory nations were barred from assisting non-nuclear weapon states in getting the technology of nuclear weapons. Okay. Later, NSG was actually started. NSG came as an organization only because when India went for its test in 73. Okay, India conducted nuclear weapons test, the first test. Contrary to that, they went for nuclear suppliers group, which was set up in 70. Today, you can see the organization which was based on. I mean, it was actually its genesis was on because of India conducting the nuclear test in the same year. Today, India is a member of NSG. Okay, so NSG is a group of nations where you have nuclear technology and the prevention of nuclear proliferation. Later, you have SALT 1, SALT 2. Okay, that is strategic arms limitation talks. Arms limitation. That is your USA and USSR. SALT 1 and SALT 2. Okay, SALT 2 was actually not much, I mean, successful. SALT 1 was successful. That is, let us limit. Later you have START 1 and START 2 treaties. START 1 and START 2 treaties. START was actually with respect to reduction. SALT was actually with respect to limitation. Okay, so nuclear limits, let us reduce. Okay, SALT 1. Okay, I mean, be it with respect to ballistic missiles, ICBMs, warheads, and all MIRVs, as I said you. Okay, let us reduce nuclear submarines. Okay, so that, I mean, this is for SLBM, submarine launched missile, I mean, ballistic missiles. Okay, so they tried to reduce the weapons and all. Okay, so relaxation started between US and USSR. A famous agreement, Helsinki Agreement, which came up 1975, which was signed by the then Russian president called Brezhnev. This Brezhnev Doctrine, and Gerald Ford from US. Okay, many other countries were also there. You can say 35 signatory nations from US, I mean, from Europe and Canada. Russia promised to respect human rights. It allowed right to leave the country in the communist states, where and all they are communist states and all. Let they have their own followism of ideology, and they abided by right to leave. But this particular agreement was not in practicality. It did not came into practice because it was non-abiding. The accord was non-abiding, and it did not have any sanctions. Did not have any treaty status also. It was for a namesake agreement, you can say. Helsinki Agreement. Okay, between Brezhnev and Gerald Ford, the US president. Okay, so detente, especially this was during, detente policy, when you have from US, it is Richard Nixon, and from USSR, it was Brezhnev. Okay, that's how detente started. Okay, detente means slowing down of tension, releasing from tensions. It is a name. During this period, you have improved relations between US and USSR. It began in 1971 when Nixon became, you can say, president, and you have in Russia Brezhnev. So from 1971, you can see the policy of detente happening. Okay, both countries they wanted to improve the trade. They want to completely ensure that or reduce the danger of nuclear warfare or any sort of wars and all. Okay, and Nixon. But he was the first president. Nixon was the first president to visit Russia, first US president to visit Russia. Okay. At the home also, even during the elections campaign also, Nixon was actually being at the same time, US was already worried with one war called Vietnam War. Okay, and everyone, he also tried to keep an end because public opinion in the second Vietnam War was also not strong. They wanted to end it because it was many casualties started happening because of US interference in Vietnam. US was a failure. US policy in Vietnam was actually a complete failure in Vietnam. Okay, so be it Nixon, be it Eisenhower, be it John F. Kennedy, then you have Ford. Okay, then you have Reagan. All the US presidents and almost all the 5 presidents, right from Nixon, they wanted to end up Vietnam War. Okay, but to save on their prestige, they continued hanging on for many years. Okay, next. Richard Nixon. Nixon. Brezhnev. He and Brezhnev, you can say, I mean, Nixon and Brezhnev, you can say they signed agreements between the arms control, the SALT, the strategic arms limitation talks. It limited the ICBMs. I mean, you can see each side could control the weapons and all. No agreement on MIRVs, that is independent reusable vehicles and all. It was not started. Okay. This actually hurted very badly the disarmament policy. Okay. Because it was important. As I said, that forms the major the aspect policy of armament and all. 73, Brezhnev visited USA for the second summit, but the meeting symbolized the two countries' continuous committing for peace. Okay, that was your famous detente policy. Well, detente policy, which came into reality to an extent. Okay, next summit 3 in 74. I mean, where you have the salt talks happening and all, it did not last long. Okay, so a lot of agreements have been blocked. Again, you have again that the so-called the detente stopped and the tensions started again rising and all. Okay, the aim to limit MIRVs and SS-20s, but was due to at the same time 1979 you have USSR invasion on Afghanistan, and in Afghanistan you have a communist government being set up. Okay, but again in 1989 they will leave. Russia will leave in 1989 again. Okay, so because of this invasion, SALT II treaty would be rejected by the US. That is also for limitation. Strategic arms limitation talks on second two. It was rejected. It was rejected because of USSR invasion on Afghanistan 79. Okay. Next, Nixon's successor Jimmy Carter. Okay. He supported SALT II. Okay. He also pressed a military build-up and a human rights campaign, which actually you can say cooled relations to an extent. With the election of Ronald Reagan, okay, who emphasized the military. Let us go for a huge level of military preparedness and all. So 79 till 83. The tensions got increased again. Tensions got increased because both the countries were ready for increasing up their military setups. Okay, you have Afghanistan war at the same time, Afghanistan interference. Okay, and the you can say both the countries were almost on the brink of war. 79 to 83. From 84, it's done. It's almost over. Cold War, we can say the final phases, especially because of the policies of Gorbachev, they were almost here. And the West was completely suspicious of USSR because of USSR invasion on Afghanistan 79. Okay, this led again to increasing when you have detente almost being successful. The policy of this is common. This is how it happens actually. Okay, when you are almost reaching a very conclusion, when you are maintaining the peace and all, some sort of situations happen again that would stop because this is not a full level trust. Complete mistrust do exist between these two nations. Complete mistrust. Okay, so that again led to increasing of stockpile of nuclear warheads. Okay, NATO deployed cruise missiles in Europe against USSR deployment of SS-20, which are, you can say SS-20s are actually counterparts. Okay, Ronald Reagan, during his period 81 to 89, he went for Star Wars or the so-called under this SDI program, SDI. Strategic Defense Initiative program, which would have given US the capability to launch missiles from space. In fact, this was Reagan's plan of Star Wars, or giving back. You come and attack and all, that would immediately go for retaliation and all. It was something like unexpected. Science would have reached to next level of, that's how we thought, Reagan's thinking and all. It was so expensive, lot of expenditure, defense initiative program and all. Not that successful. It did not even fetch good results. Okay, the strategic defense initiative named Star Wars. It was a missile defense system. It aimed to protect US from attack by ballistic nuclear weapons. Any ballistic weapons and all it aimed, but it was actually so high. Okay, concept was announced in 89 by Reagan, the Star Wars program and all. You can see that be it any missile and all, so that it would shield USA by missile attack and all. Okay, Star Wars program. It was not successful. It was completely beyond science. You can say. Okay, Reagan's Star Wars program, very famous. The Strategic Defense Initiative, Star Wars. That is Space Wars. Okay. So the next phase, 85 to 91. Okay, 1980s, you can see a lot of protests against this, that they have to go for disarmament and all. Presidential regime change in Russia, where you have Gorbachev, because his policies have been two policies. You can say Perestroika Restorica and Glasnost Now, these two policies have tremendously changed it. You can say many say that they were the reasons for USSR disintegration and all, but Gorbachev is not completely responsible. We can say, I mean, we should not be completely blamed for doing it. Okay, so when he became the president, he tried to improve the relation with USA in a most that is detente again began, where you can see during the era of Brezhnev, okay, and Nixon again you have during the era of Gorbachev that he tried to continue the detente. Okay, INF treaty was signed, that is intermediate nuclear phones treaty and all between Reagan and Gorbachev, Ronald Reagan of US and Gorbachev. Okay, this was for complete denuclearization. Okay, that was in a 15-year period. Let us go for the complete denuclearization and all. Okay, now under the INF treaty, you have US and US are agreeing for destructing all the intermediate range land-based nuclear weapons. Okay, and Russian-based missiles which were placed in Czechoslovakia and Germany, and alternatively you have US missiles in Western Europe, all to be destructed. That was the main phase. That was the main phase. You can say that was the main phase. Okay. Now the treaty established for a mutual verification of progress. I mean, that is same as now India and Pakistan do. The same way it is also done. Let us go for a mutual verification of the progress and all. And the land-based missiles of Russia and US amounted only to 4%. That was the loophole, you can say, we can say, of this particular treaty and all. So the land-based missiles only concluded for 4%. And what is the use of having this treaty then? What is the use of having going for this treaty and destruction and all? So this is the criticism. This is the criticism of INFTT. When you have the land-based missiles of Russia and US only amount to 4%, what is this? So, and Britain and France were also not part of this. Okay, so out of all the 4 important countries, when you don't have Britain and France, again that also led to one criticism of Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty and all. Okay, some more nuclear agreements. You can see CTBT, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. Okay, the START one, that is reduction. When earlier you have a limitation, START one. Okay, START two also you have, which got failed. START two, which was there, START two also got failed. Okay, then you have SORT, that is Strategic Offensive Reductions Treaty. Okay, START two, which was a failure. Okay, then New START, you can say from 2011 to 21, it's still continuing. Okay, so CTBT, START 1, SORT, these are some nuclear agreements. These are, you can say, the nuclear proliferation stoppage and all, where MTCR, Missile Technology Control Design, Wassenaar Agreement, Australian group, and you have an organization for prevention of chemical weapons. Okay, now the impact, if you see the of arms race, quantity of nuclear, chemical, and conventional warheads increased. The warheads increased. The missile accuracy and missile precision got increased. Range also got increased. The missiles not land just from land, but also from water and space also. Negative impact. I mean, this you can see. This is in terms of efficiency. This is in terms of efficiency. Negative impact, you can see the arms race kept receiving money in spite of going to the social level index and all. It went towards human development aspects. Okay, and that whatever money would say, it would have been used. It could have been used under the so-called, I mean, development of third world nations. So that was one criticism against the arms race and all. What and all money which was spent and all that could have been rather been used. Okay. Next, the arms race drained the USSR, drained away entire USSR resources. Okay, and that was the most important reason for USSR disintegration. In fact, USSR economy, it went to such a very bad phase. Okay, the arms race led to nuclearization of the world. This, I mean, as a deterrence factor, it led to you can say nuclearization and all. Okay, and where there's a threat of nuclear heads, the other most you can say negative impact of arms race. What if the nuclear weapons gets into the hands of terrorists? That is a non-state acts and all. So these are, you can say, the negative impacts of arms race. Okay. Next, the next event in the Cold War, you can say Cuba. Okay. Of Cuba, if you see, Cuban Revolution happened. Cuban Revolution happened, you can say, in 53 to 59, 1953 till 59. Okay, Cuban invasion, revolution. At that time, you can say Cuba was actually, you can say, liberated from Spain. I mean, so after the Spanish Revolution, it was liberated from Spain. Okay, and USA helped Cuba from the so-called, I mean, you can say from the so-called Spain control and all. But later, the Cubans actually they did not like the US control because US was controlling most of the exports. US was controlling most of the economy. No social indicators. I mean, unemployment was at peak high. US was controlling all the railways. You can say US was controlling all the railways, electricity. Okay, it was controlling the industries. USA was controlling the industries. Okay, sugar exports. Okay, sugar exports. Okay, so political political stance under USA was controlling. So it was interfering. USA was interfering in the entire internal affairs of Cuba. Okay, 1898, you can say. After the Spanish Revolution, Cuba got liberated from the control and all. Now, so that was the Cuban Revolution, and you can say background of Cuba, what happened with the relation between US and all. Now, Bay of Bigs invasion. Okay, it was US supported. Just a second. Okay. US supported invasion of Cuba by Cubans in exile. Okay, the people who are there and who were arrested earlier and all, they supported the invasion. Okay, it was under Eisenhower, but implemented under Kennedy. After Eisenhower, you have John F. Kennedy. It was during John F. Kennedy's period that you have Bay of Pigs invasion and all. So Kennedy vetoed uses of US forces. No usage of US forces. The Cuban personalities only who were in exile, let us go. Okay, and thus the Bay of Pigs was carried out by the people who are in exile, by the Cubans themselves. Okay, particularly in Miami. Okay, at that time you have Fidel Castro. Okay, he himself led the Cuban defense. He was actually supported by the same time Che Guevara. Okay, Che Guevara of Argentina. Okay, Che Guevara of Argentina, and the battle Fidel Castro has won. Okay, this particular region is Bay of Pigs. Okay, and the battle was won within 3 days. Within 3 days, all the people, all the Cuban personalities who were in exile, they were captured and they were later exchanged with USA for baby foods and all. Okay, so that was your famous Bay of Pigs invasion. Okay, Kennedy takes the gloves off. That is the Bay of Pigs invasion. Okay, next one, Cuban Missile Crisis. You can say the hot war event, the Cuban Missile Crisis event and all. Okay, you have John F. Kennedy. In fact, the youngest president, John F. Kennedy. The Kennedy, there were sayings that Kennedy has saved the world. The man who saved the world. He is actually called the man who saved the world. Okay, he was killed later by, I can say, some people say the Russians killed them. But we do not know how he was killed. The man who saved the world. Okay, John F. Kennedy. The man who saved the world. Okay. And in Russia, you have Nikita Khrushchev. Okay, and John F. Kennedy. This is John F. Kennedy. Okay. And you have Nikita Khrushchev. Okay. So Cuban Missile Crisis, also called the October Crisis, or 13 days. It took for 13 days stay off. Okay. The crisis in the Caribbean crisis in Russia. It's called Caribbean crisis in Russia. Okay. It was major reason, as I said to you earlier, because of the missiles being planted in Turkey, Jupiter and Thor attacking USA. The same way you have Cuban missile being planted in the US backyard. Okay, so the crisis started when the American spy planes, they took photographs. They actually took photographs of Russian planes of what appeared to be the mobile missile launchers in remote areas of Cuba. Okay, you can see these how it went on. Okay, from Miami region and all till this particular regions. Okay. Next, it is found that the missiles on the launchers were Soviet made medium range ballistic missiles. Okay, it was a spy. You can say immediately the 5 minutes long. Okay, these missiles could be launched without warning to target anything in United States and all. US perceived this as a threat. Okay, and it also took up to UN. Even in UN, it was actually a UN brokered action that the war came to sudden abrupt end and all. The reasons behind Nikita's actions, what made Nikita to plant Khrushchev, Russia to plant nuclear missiles, you can say. He was the person actually in 1956 his statement was peaceful existence and all. One reason, the tensions in Berlin Wall, we can say Berlin Wall 1961. It was erected in 61 and Cuba was in 1962. Okay, he probably wanted to use the missiles in Cuba to pressurize USA. Okay, so that they would withdraw from West Berlin. He gave an ultimatum also, but did not happen. But John F. Kennedy he openly, he did not even said and all. Eisenhower was asked to apologize. He did not do it. Later, shooting down of U-2 spy plane of US, that was done in 60. That was actually the immediate reason for Berlin Wall instruction. Next, Vietnam War. Vietnam War began in 61, went till 75. 1975 until 1975, okay, where the US was militarily intervening against the communists, and also China and Russia were supporting the communists. So for that, he wanted to take revenge, so that USA would come out of Vietnam War and all. Okay. Fourth one, USSR wanted to show solidarity with Fidel Castro, so that Cuba would be on the side of USSR. Okay, but later after withdrawal of the war, USSR did not even inform to Cuba, Castro and all that. For planting of missiles and all, they took the permission, but immediate and all, it was not even informed. So that was, he felt, you can say, a strained relation developed, but later it was again normalized. Okay. 61, US had ended diplomatic relations with Cuba because of the communist regime and all. And trade embargo, this has affected, because Cuba's most of the trade, you can say, it was with US. Okay, only after, you can say, the recent USA President Obama and all, I can say that trade, consulate was started open. From that time till now, you can say relations between US and Cuba were completely lost. Okay, it depended majorly on sugar exports, Cuba. Okay, so the Bay of Pigs event, 61. Okay, like USSR lost lead in ICBM's event. That was also one of the reason. Okay, Bay of Pigs invasion. That was also one of the reason of Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, so it wanted to take a lead. It wanted to take a lead in the so-called missiles. Okay, and the most reason was the presence of Jupiter and Thor missiles in Turkey. Okay, and USSR want to teach lesson to USA of how it would feel to have enemy missiles in the one's own backyard. Okay, so this was a, you can say, a threat. You put missiles in my backyard, I'll put my missiles in. So these are all the 6 to 7 reasons of why Russia went for implanting Cuban missiles and all. Okay, this was a photographs and all, you can say, and it was openly shown in UN. USSR was embarrassed, was completely embarrassed and all. Okay, next, this was the time when almost, you can say, Cuban missile reached crisis. It almost went to an entire hot war. Okay, so contrary, the many army people, many military people and all, they're actually suggesting the John F. Kennedy of let us go for attack. Let us completely go for an attack and all. But he was very careful. He did not take a decision, because had he would have retaliated immediately, that would have led to a world war, definitely. Okay. So US began a blockade to Cuba to keep out Russian ships bringing, so that Russian ships and all, what and all, were bringing their missiles and all, it would be stopped. Finally, in 63, a UN, negotiated compromise, John F. Kennedy and Khrushchev, between two hotlines. Kennedy said that the missiles would be taken back from Turkey, Jupiter and Thor. In return, Khrushchev also said that we'll be taking back the missiles from Cuba. Okay, so finally the blockade was ended on November 21st, 62. So the week after the arms blockade on Cuba, you can say, but a secret hotline meeting between those two gets developed. Okay, so USA took the decisions to remove the missiles. USA and USSR agreement involved a secret clause of not attacking Cuba again. Okay, US removed the missiles. Hotline was established between Washington and Moscow. Okay, the phone connections and all. Russia, US, and Britain, they went for nuclear test ban treaty in 63. So that is your Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, next topic is your end of Cold War. Okay, this was imminent right from 1930, 1983. You can say almost it was imminent. Okay, 89, you have monopoly of the communistic parties. All the monopoly in the communist parties, they came to an end. All the Eastern European nations and all, they almost came to an end. Soviet control over the government of these countries was loosened up because of the policies of Gorbachev. His policies like Perestroika, Glasnost, they brought in freedom. They brought in freedom and all. Okay, Germany was reunited finally in 1990. With 1989, you have the Berlin Wall collapse. The Berlin Wall collapse. Okay, in 1991, you have the fall of communism. The 1991, you have the fall of communism. Okay, and Warsaw Pact was finally dissolved. The military pact, you can see what was there, which was finally dissolved. Okay, so the USSR also monopoly of all the communist party came to an end in 1991, and it disintegrated. USSR finally disintegrated, and then it became Russia. And then it became your Russia. And after your Cold War, you can say emergence of unipolar world with US as an hegemon. Okay, that's how you have your Cold War. 89, they integrated, and Helmut Kohl was the person actually. Helmut Kohl was the person who was responsible for unification of Germany. 89. Okay. Reverse. Now what happened? The reverse domino effect happened. Earlier, domino effect of Eisenhower, where if one country become communist, automatically the other countries also become communist and all. Now what happened? One country came out of communism. The other countries also, they started getting liberated and all. So once with the fall of communism in Poland in 88, it started the fall of communism in the entire Eastern Europe, and finally in USSR. Okay, that's how you have your end of Cold War. Okay, then in the death of Stalin, you can say, in 1953, after the death of Stalin, you can say leaders who followed Stalin and all, they also went for peaceful existence and all. So in 1988, you have trade unions movement, I mean, anti-government strikes and all that. We don't want communism and all. So elections were held and the communists were defeated. Now, SALT talks, which were done in 72 and all, which was signed, okay, it limited and all. Undermining of military alliances. I mean, as Warsaw Pact got dissolved and all, Albania came out. Okay, same time even Romania began to take independent actions and all. So finally, the entire communism got on in Eastern Europe. Okay, in Hungary, the communists were defeated. Okay, East Germany resigned, and in 1989, the Berlin Wall collapsed. Okay, finally, 1991, you can see Germany was united. Okay, similarly, all the other nations, Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, Romania, all the countries overthrew. Okay, so it started with Poland, and it went on to the other Eastern European nations also. So that is your reverse domino effect. Okay, so in Yugoslavia, multi-party elections. Albania 1991, all this. So 74-year communist rule, finally it came to an end. So the reasons you can see the policies adopted by Michael Gorbachev to an extent, okay, but entirely not. Okay, now coming to his policies, how he was responsible. He became the general secretary in Communist Party in 85. Okay, he recognized it. I mean, he understood that the Soviet economic system was, I mean, it has a serious flaw. Okay, what was necessary and all, it did not happen. It was only, it was leading to more disparities and all. Okay, so he tried to improve the relations with the West. Okay, and also China. This led to a detente. I mean, Brezhnev era it started, but more detente you can observe in USSR relationship. Okay, later he wanted to reduce more military involvement of USSR. That is the reason why he came out of Afghanistan. 1989, it was Gorbachev who thought that we are spending more amount on our military. Let's come out. Okay, especially when you have an economy was underperforming, more money is being drained out on military. Okay, so in 1986, he began the process of withdrawing from Afghanistan. In 1989, he came out. In 1989, he came out of Afghanistan. He also chose not to intervene militarily in Soviet satellite states. Very important. I mean, let us not involve ourselves to involve, I mean, in the military satellite states. And wherever possible, he went for political reforms. Let us go for political reforms. That was his open. Okay. So in short, you can say acceleration, you can say glasnost. These two policies, liberalization and openness, everything whatever earlier critique was even not encouraged. The invasion of Czechoslovakia, the invasion of Hungary and all, criticism of freedom of speech and all were not even encouraged. Now everything was opened up. Okay, Perestroika, that is restructuring of the democracy. Okay, Satsia, democratization, alcohol reforms, political reforms on cooperatives. A lot of cooperatives were encouraged, and finally the withdrawal of the Soviet forces in 1989. These were the policies of, you can say, Gorbachev, which actually led. Okay, and his policy, I mean, of glasnost, it was openness. It was openness, policy of openness in human rights, politics, and cultural affairs. It was actually media could publicly announce the inefficiency of the government. Corruption activities, corruption leaders were completely thrown out. Okay, I mean, this is actually to let the people aware, let the people know, let the people aware. Okay, that is to educate the public opinion, mobilize the policies. Okay, everything. Okay, next 1987, it was declared by Gorbachev that as a new economic management. 1997, you can say new economic management with Perestroika. With Perestroika, that you can say restructuring. He wanted to create a competition for the PSUs. Let us have competition for the PSUs and the government services. And the aim of Perestroika, it was to create an alternative employment opportunities for the people. Okay, so because economy was so weak at that time, and he wanted to move it. I mean, let us have a planning concepts and he wanted to ensure that let the trade improve. So what he could try to do, it was actually, some people say that it was good for Russia. Had Russia continued the war, still more it would have been completely lost because of its economic situation and all. Okay, but others say that he was to be responsible. He was to be responsible that most of the European nations and all, they came out, they completely became liberated and all. Okay, so many private MSMEs were encouraged, like family restaurants. Now you can say private services like giving tuitions, car repairing, paintings, all these were allowed. Okay, members of local Soviet, they are also to be elected by themselves rather than by the communistic party, rather than by the so-called communistic party. They are elected now by the people. Elections are now by the people of the local Soviets. Okay, and elections were introduced for factory management posts. Trade unions were developed. All new economic management systems and all. Okay, so finally, in late 1991, the Soviet itself dissolved itself into component republics, and with stunning speed, the Iron Curtain was lifted, and Cold War came to an end. Okay, with that, we are done with our world history. You can say all the most important topics. Okay. And finally, we have the effect. You can see what I mean. As we know, US became the powerhouse. I mean, you have now the end of bipolarity. No more. You no more tense relations and all. You can say US started like an hegemon. Okay, no parallel economy. You can say no parallel country. So erstwhile Soviet Union got disintegrated. It is now an ally of US in the matter of strategic arms control. It started supporting US in the matter of arms control. Okay, security of North Atlantic region decrease. The enmity between east and west decreased. Okay, now a new focus on UN, how UN would be responsible for the peace and security and all after when you have the breakdown between the western and the eastern nations and all. UN role started increasing. Okay, separatism and hostility between the former communistic country, they started because nationalism. Every country wanted to become independent. Every country wanted to be sovereign and all. And finally, the breakup of Yugoslavia into 5 states. This is important. You can say after the Cold War, into 5 states: Serbia, that is with Montenegro, Bosnia Herzegovina, okay, Croatia, Slovenia, and Macedonia. Okay, these were you can say how the Yugoslavia was divided. I mean, in fact, one most violent event, the breakup of Yugoslavia and all. Okay, Western Europe again as usual in the process of economic unity, and it happened. It was successful. Okay, Eastern Europe, you can say tense relations among them, disharmony, disintegration. Okay, and the economic problems of these communist states, they continued. They still continued and all. Okay, threat of nuclear proliferation, it increased. It increased. That's how many countries became nuclear. Okay, because there is no USSR to police other states and all. I mean, along with US, it increased. Okay, and then immigration problems. Now you have United Germany, the problems of East Berlin, West Berlin, the East Germany people and all. A lot of immigration issues and all. And Eastern Europe was burning after the Cold War as many refugees they immigrated into Germany. Okay. Finally, 1991, dissolvement of Soviet Union, and it was replaced with a common bloc called CIS, Commonwealth of Independent States, with Russian republics as the dominant member. Okay. Warsaw Pact, no more. It had a natural death. Okay. In place of Soviet Union, Russia emerged as a successor state. Russia. Okay. And Balkanization happened. Balkanization of Soviet Union states happened. Okay. The post-Cold World phase, you can say terrorism. Very, very important point. Okay. After Cold War, you have terrorism coming out, especially from the Eastern European states and all. Okay. The new world order was accepted by some people. That is US as an hegemon. What was the new world order? US as an hegemon or a unipolar world. But the Islamic fundamentalists, they did not accept it. That was the reason why you have terrorism being increased. That was the major reason, in fact. Okay. If you see Al Qaeda, I mean, Taliban, I mean, your ISIS and all, the target is actually against West. Osama's target or the usage of the Twin Tower attacks, you can say 9/11, was targeting of West, targeting of the America. Okay, so New World Order was not liked by the Islamic fundamentalists after 1991, and the result was terrorism. And another major event, you can say, was emergence of non-state actors, be it NGOs, MNCs, and human right groups. Okay, that's how you can say it got developed. Okay, this, I mean, we have completed the Cold War. Okay, so most of your world history events are done. Okay, thank you.